Don't be scared, I don't bite. Get on in here, champ. Welcome back to Day Rates, the show we talk about design
and cash.
Great, let's get into it.
Fucking play that intro. I mean, how do we usually start these things, Miles?
Family fun design corner. Emily. Family fun design corner. All right.
I think we got it. So, we got today, Miles. It's a big one.
Reece Parker.
Reece Parker, get on over here, get in that corner. So, we did Reece Parker for a Family Fun Design Corner once before. Although we got a little bit too drunk.
It was like episode 4 or something. It just never made it out. But we got smashed. And we're hoping to right that wrong today. Cheers.
I mean, we had to redo him because he's a huge supporter of the channel.
True.
We post some memes. He likes them. It's kind of a little deal we have going on.
Put baby in the corner. Baby's Reece Parker.
Speaking of babies, he's a family man. Just a lovable guy.
Come on.
Let's have a look at his stuff.
I feel like Reece has with his own stuff, such specific color palette. You just think of a specific palette when you think of Reece Parker stuff.
And even the style too, like heaps of texture-y stuff, very sketchy style.
Yeah.
I love it.
What's great is like he's got that nice mix, like illustration and motion. So a lot of us are only good at one of them, but he's done some like great cell and other stuff like that. But yeah, we love his stuff. It's super gritty.
Gritty is a good word.
Super interesting. He did that nice piece for IBM, I believe, which went down really well. So Reece Parker, you've been cornered. We all know why you're here, you know. Let's just address it.
Praise be to Ben Marriott. Praise be to Ben Marriott. Praise be to Ben Marriott.
I think we should start this episode by talking about the time I told you that I loved you.
Miles told me he loved me one time because he was... What was the go? You were going through some shit at the time and you were just like stressed out and then...
I just maybe had a bit of substance abuse on the weekend. And so then I was like we were working at Mascot at the time and we were having lunch and I was looking at the trees for a while. And for a second I thought I was with my wife, weekly shout out Hannah. And I just looked down, you know, like when you just automatically say to your partner, you're like, I love you. Yeah, and I just looked down, I was like, I loved you. And I saw like a Greek man in front of me and I was like... Still waiting for a response. Tune in next week. We'll see if Joel loves me back.
I can't say I love you, but I'm really proud of you, man.
Thank you, Joel.
So, Miles, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about what gear you need to make good animations, which is something I've been thinking about recently because I'm on the cusp of buying new gear, you know, which we all go through at some point. You're like, all right, I've reached the end of my setup. It's time to upgrade something and make it better. I've been doing a lot more 3D recently, which has pushed me into buying a PC. And I've just dipped my toes in the water. I got one of those Razer laptops. It's got the GPU I need and I can start testing around. But now I'm getting some limitations in terms of render power and everything. And I'm thinking, time to upgrade again. But got me thinking about what do you actually need to make a good animation? Do you need much at all? I mean, it started with pen and paper.
Right.
So...
Still is used like that as well in like huge movies.
Exactly. I mean, look, spoiler, you don't need much to make good animation. You need a good understanding of motion and design and everything like that. But it's something we all get caught up with, I think, is we just feel like...
And we'll be back next week.
We just feel like, you see an animator and you see like a little insight into their workflow and you'll see they're using a slightly different tablet to you.
That's the tablet I need.
Or they have a different plugin in their After Effects setup and you think, that's why my shit's not as good. Because I don't have that plugin or tablet or something like that. And I just think it's a huge waste of time to put all that mental energy into researching crap that you don't actually need.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah. How did we start doing animations?
We started doing animations. I mean, when I started, you had... What did we have? Like only 2 iMacs?
Yeah, we had like 2 desktops and we rotated. I worked on a laptop intermittently.
Yeah. Because we had a third person there and we had a laptop. So it was like, we kind of rotated it around.
Yeah. But we still we didn't make good work. Don't look at our old work. So yeah, buy the best gear because if you have bad gear, you get work like we used to make. No, but I mean, I started the business with a single laptop and the work wasn't great, but it's because I didn't need the best thing yet. I needed to work on my skill set for that long. And even when you joined, we still needed to work on our skills for like a very long time.
For sure.
Before we were ready to upgrade our setup.
I was happy to work on that laptop anyway. Like I was new to animation or whatever. I was happy at that point. I was happy to work on whatever.
Yeah. And I think if you're an animator starting out, you can honestly spend a good solid 2 years working in Illustrator and After Effects and just sticking with those 2 programs until you really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know? And then chipping in bits of your Photoshop. Well, it depends how you naturally would animate. If you're a cell person, just at your core, just start with Photoshop and Flash or whatever it is. But you really don't need much processing power, I don't think, these days to get decent work.
No, you don't.
And like a lot of your work when you're starting, I just wish we'd done simpler things. You know, we cram in all this extra detail and stuff that didn't add to the story, didn't add to the motion.
Yeah.
And that's what requires all this processing power, is you've got layers of stupid blurs for no reason. But yeah, I think that's a big trap that people fall into. If you're just starting, keep it really simple. Have one computer, have a few programs you're getting used to. You can get a little bamboo Wacom tablet for like $100 or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're really good. You don't need thousands of levels of pressure sensitivity on your pen.
Yeah.
Until you know what the hell you're going to do with it.
That's true.
You know?
I remember you were doing like animations on a flight with your laptop.
Yeah, I panicked animated.
Like, yeah, and it was like, at the time, it was like just the same level as what you would have done back here on a big desktop. So it was like, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's like a thing is, God, the amount of times I've just looked at someone else's Mint office setup and thought, oh, we were joking about this just the other week. Like if we had the best desk mats, it's like so
leather.
Stupid. Yeah, exactly. If we killed that cow and we spread it out across our table, we would just be making way better stuff.
Grass fed.
Yeah.
I'm talking, this is some Kobe beef.
Kobe mat. So yeah, I feel like that's the first little tidbit that I've learned from my career is, when you're starting out, start simple. Don't build up too much. The second thing I've been thinking about is, when do you actually upgrade, right? So I think when you're ready to upgrade when you hit a wall with your ideas versus the actual processing power you're working with. Mm-hmm. Or say you're just working with a laptop and a mouse and you need some more variable stroke width. That's a great time to go buy a tablet because you have maybe a project that needs it.
Makes sense.
There's like a reason to do it. So I think that's really important is
knowing when to call it.
Exactly, knowing when to call it. And you should invest in what you have. It is important as well. You don't want to fall behind because you're not reinvesting in your business. Like if you're a freelancer, you're still a business. You need to put your money back into it. But yeah, I think if there's something new and exciting, that's great. Like, we started playing around with iPads this year, and now we're actually starting to use it and do a little bit of rough animator stuff. So it's giving us some benefit.
Yeah.
You've done some character designs in there. I've done some character designs in there.
It's still, we're still yet to even scratch the surface with that. I think it's a very useful tool, and I think we're going to use it way more.
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah. Sometimes you might buy something like gear-wise and for a certain purpose, and then you don't end up using it or whatever, but it could come in handy like later down the track. Yeah,
example A, which you mentioned in our outtakes, which will never be seen by the public. This camera.
This Canon 80D.
Yeah.
What do we even buy this for?
I don't know. It was not very expensive. It was like $1,500 or something like that, but it was pretty cheap. But yeah, we bought like a little standard kit. It's like the generic vlogger kit or something.
Yeah.
But even now, we don't need that much shit. Like these mics weren't that expensive. The lights were super cheap. They were off high pop, and there's no point us upgrading anything.
Yeah, no way.
For a little following, we should keep going for a bit.
Yeah.
And we have an idea for why we'd want a better camera, but right now, I think we look pretty good.
Yeah.
We look damn good.
Yeah. I mean, I can't do much about his face, but
Joel, could you please blur my face out?
Sure.
Oh, so thanks for that. I think kind of like leaning into the iPad thing, like how we're using that these days. I think what's really good is, again, keeping the process simple once you start using a new tool. Like I noticed that when we both started using the iPad, I was trying to get all the apps and try all these things, and it didn't stick very much. You just started with just like the generic Photoshop drawing app, but you started doing actual things.
Yeah. I couldn't stop using that app, and you were on Procreate and shit. It's like, trust me, man, it's way better. And I was just like, this is all I know.
Yeah. And you were sticking with
Photoshop Sketch, I think it is.
Yeah, like 2 brushes or something, and it's like it's the simplest of the apps at the time, but you actually used it more. I think you got a lot more comfortable with it.
Yeah, that was the thing, yeah.
And it's because I was overwhelmed. I had like Affinity Designer and all this crap, and it was just so many bloody menus, and I just couldn't...
Yeah.
I wasn't getting used to just using it.
That's why, you're exactly right. I was using the simplest one. It was just like, here's the color, here's the brush, just do it. Yeah. And then that was fine for me. And then I would find myself doing, if I went to start a new thing and I'd try a new app, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I couldn't get it out because I didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted the simplest thing at the time. Now I'm using Procreate, which is great. Yeah. It is a fucking really good app. But yeah, at the time, simple.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Is like if you look at a lot of people's work that's really good, you'd be surprised how it's not like a lot of the strokes. I mean, unless you love like Baroque, complex stuff, a lot of what you'll see, it's just simple strokes. It's just simple design.
Yeah.
You don't need the best incredible tool for it. You need a good idea.
Yeah.
And I think even hearing from you that you're like, oh, I couldn't get out the image that I wanted, it means you had an image in your head to start.
True.
Where I think the way I'll approach programs is I'm kind of going through the toolkit. I'm curious about how it works, and I'm playing with features rather than have an idea that needs the feature.
Yeah. Which isn't bad.
It's not terrible.
It's just
but
different.
You have to expect that you're going to spend 6 months doing nothing with the app before you can produce one image, because you're not really...
Yeah, right.
You have to then settle and think what you're going to use them for. But yeah, that's why I'd say, like, you did a lot of these nice kind of like simple, more cartoony style drawings, but they looked really cool. And, you know, like, it was just a good chance for you to get used to the program. So
yeah,
keep it simple when you start with a new program. I've been doing 3D, and that's the other thing, is when you buy new gear, you have to be careful that it's not just taking a lot of time and focus away from your bread and butter. You know?
That's a good point.
Like, I spend so much time now tinkering with this stuff, and I feel like it's only starting to pay dividends. Like, we had a client this week that, I didn't mention this, but old mate went for one of the 3D options of the style samples.
Awesome.
So now it's like, great, I'm putting in the time in this, and I can actually make money off spending time in here.
That's good.
Man, how many random fucking things have I made with this software that I'm like, I don't even know how to sell this. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, and I got this new gear, and it's I want to use it. It's consuming me, but I'm not sure what the goal is with it, you know? So I've found recently I'm trying to wind what I'm doing with the gear. Like, I started with doing lots of little tiny houses and weird things like that, because I'd seen Muhammad Shatin's work, I think.
Is that how it's pronounced?
I hope so. It might be Shannon's. Chetit? Chitin.
We've got plenty of options to go with.
Yeah, I saw his work, and I saw a guy called Gustavo's work as well. And they both did like these little kind of, it looked like little video game houses. I'm like, oh, I just want to make that. So I tinkered with that for a long time. I saw no commercial output for it. So now I'm trying to pare it back and think about, how do I make nice grids and patterns and things that our clients kind of want, even as background elements of their animations.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the driving force, but it's something that I can then come into the office every day and use that new tool for a purpose.
That makes sense.
You don't want to ram your new tool idea down everyone's throat until they take it.
I mean, we've done that too.
Yeah, exactly. But if you've got an idea, you can offer it to them in a style sample as an option.
Yeah.
And if they like it, then they'll ask for it. And that way you're using it. So
I do also think those tiny houses are marketable somehow.
yeah, but I don't know who the fuck. If you want a tiny house, like, please hit us up, because I will make that tiny house. Look at this tiny house. Look at that tiny house. Maybe you could stay in this tiny house. But no, that's true actually too. I mean, you do need some experimentation. Once you branch out your toolkit and everything like that, you do need to experiment with it a little bit. Same thing. We did do one thing for a client, which we can't mention. So remember that Coates hire piece? Bleep all of this. That was basically making tiny props.
Yeah, and that was a good learning curve.
Yeah, I think so.
That helped us a lot. I animated in C4D, which was crazy.
That's what I'm talking about. Good animations as well. One more nugget to wrap it up. And this is something that I think everyone can relate to, but fear that you're not using the correct tool or like the correct piece of software or the right piece of hardware is such a big part of a creative life, I think. I listened to a podcast, Grayscale Gorilla, where they're talking about, because in 3D there's so many different render engines you can use. So you can learn a render engine, and then everyone else might be like, no, this one's the cool one, and everyone's using that one.
See, that's why I don't do this shit, man.
You
That's
know?
why it's just like, I don't, even when you talk about render engines, I'm like, I still don't fucking get it.
Or then, yeah, there's render engines, but then there's also like, oh, if you want to sculpt, you got to use ZBrush, or maybe Blender's got new tools that are better, and the the UI is not as crap, or are you using Substance for your substances, or are you using Quixel Mixer, and those kind of things, or how are you doing it? There's just so much variation and choice that you get fatigued about even trying to choose one of the pieces of software.
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of motion people are really lucky. If you do 2D motion, a lot of us are working in After Effects, and it's industry standard at this point. There will be a competitor at some point. It's just not happening right now. Yeah, and then all of us are going to feel like, fuck, am I the old person using After Effects when everyone's using Moblo 29?
Dude,
and
Moblo 29 is the shit.
You just log in and you're like,
Animate! I still don't know how to use Sketch.
oh yeah,
That's
fuck
kind
Sketch.
of, but that's still kind of an industry standard. At
Yeah,
this point.
true. That Sketch came and went as well. Like, if you did, we were doing some web stuff, and that was the most arbitrary shift though. Everyone's like, do it in Sketch, blah blah, and like Sketch is the thing, but it's like, it doesn't seem like it added anything new from
did.
Illustrator.
$100.
Yeah, I know it had like
No one could afford the Adobe Suite.
It had like symbols and all this stuff, but even now I work with clients and they're like, yeah, we use Sketch files or whatever. I'm like, why? I don't see the real benefit. It's a vector format. You look at what they're doing it. It's just boxes. Like, it's not it's not wildly unique. You think, oh, you need UI software for this.
Yeah, no.
So,
It's not bringing anything new to the table.
yeah.
It's, if anything, it's just like a different interface. And like, it looks cleaner, but that's like, there's subtly different ways of doing things, but it's still, I mean, it's the same shit.
It's the pages to your Microsoft Word.
It is exactly that.
Yeah.
For sure. And then there's like, what is it now? You were using
Procreator. Figma.
It's like a browser-based.
Yeah.
Like, is it all vectors?
Yeah, it was pretty much like Sketch, but it was browser-based. It's actually pretty good. Surprisingly good for browser-based software. But yeah, I mean, as there's lots of software options, you get super stressed out about if you're choosing the right one. Grayscale Gorilla Podcast had a good pro tip. It's basically, if you're starting, just pick any of them and do it for a year.
Yeah,
because you're not going to know what that software is missing until you understand anything about the industry.
Yeah.
So if you're starting right now, I really wouldn't go down a bunch of rabbit holes. Just, stick to something. Just learn the basics, understand it, and then you'll think, oh, maybe After Effects is perfect for everything. I want to do my cell animation in CC Animate or whatever. Well, most of us are lucky. Most of us are using the Adobe Suite, and there's options there. But it goes for tools as well. You don't need to get the best Wacom out of the gate unless you even know if you like doing anything with that kind of style.
True.
So
we still use like programs that we should probably be using different programs for these, for certain jobs.
Oh, yeah.
But even in thinking, even just because other people use, all right, let's give an example. Websites in...
I think you're going to bring up my stylescapes. I fucking made static images in After Effects the other day.
Oh, I was going to bring up just like, I remember the first time I did a website and someone was like, yeah, use Photoshop. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare, dude. I was, at the time, super gun in Illustrator. And I was like, I could just made that exact same thing in Illustrator so much quicker.
Yeah.
And we will still do some shit like that where we'll use, example, like you used After Effects the other day to do some style frames that you probably like should have done in Photoshop, but it was easier.
Yeah, that's what's crazy. I feel like After Effects and Photoshop, it's the same program. After Effects is just way better. I know like people that are like massive Photoshop heads will be like, no, go fuck yourself. It's all this stuff. And if you're illustrating or doing something like that, that's great. When it comes to just actual photo manipulation and making nice images and laying things out, it's weirdly so much easier in After Effects. It handles things a lot quicker. You can get to your type menu without a lot of processing power taking place. You don't have to click yes next to everything. So in terms of just... I was just doing the initial style samples for a brand that I'm working on, which I don't normally do branding, but I'm helping someone out. And it was just so much quicker to iterate. If it's not the finished final end product, then yes, why wouldn't I do the thing that helps me do it the quickest?
Yeah, that's true. Makes sense.
Yeah. So anytime, I think for us, there's no point being too shamed about your tool. If it's the end client, they're going to see a PDF from you or they're going to see a video from you. If you're working with a studio, I guess you might have to send them your working files, so be careful. Don't send them After Effects files when they want the static designs from you because they're going to have an issue. But I think it's only other designers that are going to put shit on you, and it's only because they're feeling self-conscious about whatever tool they're using, you know? So I think it's totally fine to use a weird piece of software for something, as long as that end result is what you want it to be.
100%. I made you buy it, Sketch.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, everybody's doing it though.
Buy it!
And I didn't use it.
Oh, it's Illustrator.
I used it at the start, and I'm just like, yeah, it's Illustrator. So this is the fucking... It's just, I did the same thing. Like, look at my cool piece, Miles.
Yeah,
that I made 3 hours longer than I could have in Illustrator.
Neat.
But yeah, fuck. Yeah, dude. Should we wrap it up?
Get it? Don't get it? We don't give a fuck. Is there anything we need to wrap it? Do we say things normally?
Yeah, that's our catchphrase. Take it away.
Give the gear that you'd want to get, because getting gear is as good as giving it.
My armpits are sweating.
I hope that's good enough episode.
You totally beefed it.